they're changing the name of Fort Bragg to Fort Liberty. I'll give you my thought on this.
Sure.
I'd like to hear what you think.
Yeah.
I don't know how this came about, but it's decided probably by some politicians or something like that they're going to change the name of Fort Bragg to Fort Liberty. Now, I was just reading a news article that was from WRAL, and it says, according to the final report from the Naming Commission, the total cost for all changeovers will cost around $20 million.
And we all know in the government context that if that's the figure they provided in the initial report, it's going to probably be 25 or 30 million, or
and this
even
you're
more,
talking about businesses that have to change signs.
Yes.
You're talking about highways that they have to go. Somebody's got to go out there and change it. All of the buildings, the maps that have to be updated. Let me tell you about updating a map. It's not easy. And when you have to update 1,000 maps or whatever it is, probably more than that. I mean, we're talking about a major cost just to change the name of a base. And I get it. Braxton Bragg probably wasn't the greatest guy that existed. Nobody in history was. But at what point do we say, hey, if I have to pay for this wokeness, I want to have a voice here. Look, this is going to come out of our state taxes. They're definitely going to tax you and me for it. What are your thoughts on this crazy?
Yeah, it's interesting because over the last few years, with us having a subchapter of the Braxton Bragg chapter of the Association of the United States Army, so I've had more interactions of being over at Fort Bragg and being at command events and things. And so I've silently listened to those that are served a long time ago and are like opposed to the change. And then obviously I listen to the new ones that are like, no, we're going to make this change. And what is for the special operations, oppresso de free the oppressed. And so Liberty is an appropriate name for the operations there. But as somebody that has studied history, I've been to where Braxton Bragg came from down in Mobile, Alabama area before, came up to North Carolina. So I've read a lot of the history. He wasn't a very successful military tactician or lost a lot of stuff. But when I was reading up on a lot of the history of the Bragg name, there's actually a first cousin that was a general in the Union Army, same last name, who ended up being a congressman from Wisconsin, implemented so many programs that were such a positive influence on, getting rid of slavery, just so many unique and wonderful things that, well, what if you just kept the last name but changed the first name? Got rid of Braxton and used this individual who fought on the side.
Nobody calls it Fort Braxton Bragg. It's just Fort Bragg.
Right. Yeah. And so that was discussed from what I had heard. It just never was. And so I can't change any of that. It's if that's the idea, sure, fully honor and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. It's gotten to the point where, somebody that has studied history for a long time, again, that old adage of if you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Right.
And so if you can't learn from mistakes, how are you going to learn? I just saw where I think some statue at Princeton University, there was 200 or 300 students that complained because first president or something of Princeton owned 2 slaves when they came here in the 1700s. Right. But they didn't read his full background of what he did and how he ended it. He was a minister and everything else. And so now they're in uproar, want to get rid of all the statues and put up a plaque that says, this guy did this and shouldn't be, whatever. Right. But again, that's a teachable moment that, somebody may have had that, but then they learned from everything else and spent the better part of their adult life and being at the head of an institution of higher ed that created opportunities that got rid of all of that. So do you get knocked for something you did when you're first growing up to learn, or do you get credit for all the wonderful things you did post that one instant or whatever?
Well, I certainly think there's nothing wrong with having the discussion.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, we have, like here in Wilmington, we have these Confederate statues. I don't even, are they still up down there? I
think they're all been removed into a different location.
They've all been taken away into hiding. There's nothing wrong with having this discussion, right? With saying, look, do we really want to have these statues here? Do we really want this base to be named Fort Bragg? Yeah. But at a certain point, reality sinks in, right? And you have to say, is it worth $20 million to change this name over here or repurpose it or do something else?
Sure.
And who's to say that 5 years from now, Liberty's not going to be offensive to somebody? It probably already is. There's probably somebody out there right now who's going, man, Liberty's so offensive to me. Everyone just shouldn't have that. There's somebody out there that's acting like that.